This is Coulda, Shoulda, Woulda. I wrote it as Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda, but my question to you today is it Coulda, Shoulda, Woulda or Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda, or is it Shoulda, Coulda, Woulda? That's what I want to know. Does anyone know the actual right way to say that as we've been trained? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, or woulda, coulda, shoulda. Isn't that funny? So I'd love your feedback. Which one is it? But anyway, I'm going to call it coulda, shoulda, woulda today. And here are a couple thoughts to get us ready. Now, there's an amazing fable and a story that I'm going to just share with you briefly today for my warm up. But you can learn about it in much more depth. But it comes from Buddhism, and it's the story of the two arrows of suffering. So the two arrows of suffering are represented by the first arrow, and that's the one that is shot at you. It's unavoidable. It's the one that's shot at you as an offering by the person or event that you perceive is causing the suffering. Great morning, Kathy. So in the two arrows of suffering, the first arrow is the one that is shot at you from somewhere or something or somebody else, and with the perception of it being the cause of suffering. The second arrow, however, is under your control and is shot by you and also aimed right at your own foot, and it represents your decision and choice to be the victim and to suffer. So those are the two arrows. You only control one, and it just reminds us that our goal today is to learn how to hold back from the second arrow by changing the way we look at the first arrow. Isn't that cool? So enjoy that. Today, see how you can try to minimize your second arrow. So this is coulda, shoulda, woulda, but we're not really sure if that's the right way to say it. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda. So Marty says that she was taught coulda, shoulda, woulda. Okay, that's fine. So thank you for that, Marty. So let's get into this. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. If you flip back a few pages, I love to look at my life as a book. If you flip back a few pages or more in the book of your life, do you find yourself wishing that you handled certain decisions in life events differently? Now, this is a fun topic. I'm actually going to put a little bit of a question here to ponder as we go forward. Do you think that your life could have or would have been different had you made different decisions in the past? Or this is the thought for the day, or do you think you are right where you need to be in order to proceed? This is a really important perception of life because it probably plays a big role in whether or not, you believe in yourself or things like that. So frustrated with your inability to recognize an opportunity. So this is potentially something you could think about your past. Recognize an opportunity or a damaging decision that coulda and woulda placed you in a better situation today had you perceived and responded to it differently. This is fascinating. It's fascinating to go back in your life and think to yourself, man, if this happened differently, then now would be different. But do we have the ability to really think like that? That's what I want you to think about. I'll give you a different perspective on it, but there's a good chance that you're holding yourself back from your next step right now because you're a victim to a mistake that you made. Was it a mistake? Are you the kind of person that looks back and says, oh, I screwed this up, so therefore I'm doomed forever? Or are you the kind of person that says, everything has brought me to this amazing place of opportunity and potential? So do you really think you could have handled it differently, right? Do you think that you really could have handled it differently? Or did it happen the only way that it was supposed to? So you see, free will is an interesting topic in the realm of human behavior. The idea that we all possess the ability to make choices as we see fit. So I'm a big advocate of altering our future. So if I'm conscious of this concept right now, I love the idea that I can alter my future by altering the way I perceive things and the way I respond to the various happenings that I interface with. Hence the reason that I've created the interface response system. But I also wonder if we actually have the ability to alter outcomes, or are we on a predetermined path? That's what I love. So here's where I stand with that is I don't know. I know that I don't know. I can say here's what I think, but I sit in the middle in the eye of that storm. So I just like to know your opinion on that. So, do you really think that you could have handled things differently, or are we on this predetermined path? So, my take on this. So, this is my take at this time. Three famous words at this time, which means I'm open to change. If you have a cooler idea, I will ponder it. So, my take on this as the author of my own fantasy novel. So, it's my fantasy. It's my fantasy. I'll write what I want to, right? It's that anything that has already transpired couldn't have happened any other way. That's what I think, right? Hey, Clinton, great morning to you, Clinton. Let's see what Clinton, somehow, please help me feed my children. That's interesting. So Clinton is asking, um, he's putting up his own PayPal account. He's asking to feed his children. Here's an interesting thing about that. The challenge that somebody would have with asking for something like that is people don't kn it's that's a fascinating thing. Clinton, I hope that this if you're a real person, I hope that this lands with you. Um, when somebody that you've never met before, and this can come in any shape or form, um, comes and asks you for something. Like the other day, somebody that I've never met before messaged me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I want you to hire me to do something for your social media." And I said back to the person, and I said, "But I don't even know you, right? And you don't know me." So my you know, I guess my encouragement to anybody that wants to ask for something, and if your goal is to actually succeed at it, and there's no weird agenda, which is why our arms are crossed when we first have somebody ask us for something. Our arms are crossed. We have this thing called the crocodile brain. And Clinton, if you're serious about this is what you got to do. We're not going to let our guard down until we actually are open and our arms are uncrossed. So you got to do a little bit of relationship building before you ask somebody to just fill your PayPal account. And the reason why is that we are all here, experiencing, tons of bullshit in the world. So, if somebody actually genuinely has a need, I'm empathetic for them, but that's not the right approach to just ask strangers for things. They have to become your friends. So my take on this idea of the whether or not things have unfolded exactly the way they should, or whether or not we actually control outcomes. Um, I consider myself the author of my own fantasy novel. Is that anything that has already transpired couldn't have happened any other way? It unfolded the way we saw it at the time. So this is what's interesting when you go back in your past and you see I talk a lot about this because there's a section in my book about karma. Karma is an interesting concept that something triggers something positive or negative down the road. So you recognize that our decisions do trigger our different paths. So we go back there and we say, hey, could I have made a bit different decision and created a different future? But the thing is that you couldn't have created a different decision at that time because it's the way that you it was in your current reality, you saw things a certain way and you responded the way you thought best then. We don't respond in a way that we don't think is going to work, right? So that's a really important thing. So it unfolded the way that we saw it at the time. We can look back at those events through our new evolved lenses, right? So this is my new evolved lens. So I can go back and with my new ability to perceive things, I can look back and say, oh, well, now that I look at it, I wasn't a victim. They didn't do anything to me, right? So I can go back and use that kind of a technique to kind of release myself from something, the burden of something, or learn to appreciate something, or even learn to forgive. This is an important thing. If you go back in a relationship or something with your family, your creators, and you really fell below the line and became a victim of something that happened to you, um, if you look back, you can actually release yourself from it or appreciate the value in what it's done for you today through this new lens. But back then, you couldn't see that. So that's why I'm entertaining this idea. Do we really control our future, or is our future predetermined by our inability to react any better way than we're going to react in our current reality? If something happens today to me, right, I could look at it and take the version of me right now and react to it, or I could say, "Oh man, I wish I could go 10 years into the future and grab that guy's perspective and react." No, I can't do that because I don't know that guy yet. So we um, we can consciously claim control of our response system. That's the idea. We can consciously take control of our response system and therefore alter our future and outcome. It's our acceptance of the way things unfolded. So when we go back into the past, it's our acceptance of the way things unfolded in our past that actually makes us conscious of our ability and our power that we hold in our future. So here's another reason to say, this is an amazing thing to go back and look at how our actions trigger karma wise trigger our future. Whether you look at it and say I did it right or wrong, the acknowledgement of that is what today gives you the ability in your new evolved self to say, hey, I'm in control of my future, right? However, how is that any different as we will be once again thinking that we're doing something right in this moment right now, right, at the time, and be forced to accept its ramifications. But in the future, we will look back and perhaps look at this time right now and say, I could have done it, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Isn't that amazing? So what's the lesson here? It's all good. It's all good, right? Release yourself from thinking that you need to be right and you need to know everything and that you need to control everything, right? I like to accept the out of control nature of life. And that's how I take control of my life, by accepting the fact that things are just nuts. So it's all good. Yes, you have free will, but it's not always going to satisfy your desires to move forward. You can always course correct. This is what we do, and take all that happened and use it to move forwards to the place that you are supposed to be. Make sense? So love and appreciate you all. I see some great comments here. Kathy says, everything in the past brought me to who I am today, and I don't have any regrets. I love that. I agree. And then we land where we are from the choices that we made and its opportunities to grow. That's right. Yes, I love. We learn as we do. All right, my friends, that's my rise up today. I will see you tomorrow. I hope that this helps you remove your own blindfolds and think a little bit bigger. I'm not really attached to, being right. I think what I love to do with this show is just challenge people to think. And whatever it is that you think, I'm completely okay with it. Susie says, great morning, great day to South Africa. Not in South Africa yet. Happy your family is together again. We're not there yet. It's going to be about 3 weeks for me. Mika's leaving sooner. But thank you so much. Love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. And I will be back at 7:30 tomorrow. Interesting interaction today from the crowd. Have an amazing day.